Ladies, gentlemen, bodies of water. Oh, fuck. This is why we can't do it live, Matt. This is why we can't do it live. I knew it. Just before you, I thought it was going to be a 3, 2, 1. I was going to be like, wait, who's going to introduce this?
I thought it was a really long awkward silence, to be honest.
I'm going to shut up.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen and bodies of water. We are your alchemists this evening. I'm Matt. Normally the DM, but now I'm just a dude chatting into a webcam.
Just a man.
Yeah.
Just a
I'm
man.
Carl, and I'm also just a dude chatting into a webcam.
I'm Lee, and I thought I might have been introducing this. I asked a question beforehand. We didn't know. We said we'd do it live. We know what happens when we do it live. We get it wrong.
We pull an Amber
Part
Heard
of our
and shit the
charm.
bed. That's what we do.
Yes. So welcome to the Alchemist Toolkit, where we talk about most things RPG, tabletop related, but more how to DM really, and how to have an enjoyable experience. We tell stories here. We give our own hot takes on tabletop role-playing games. And today we are talking about the rule of cool, something that we really enjoy in our games. This is the main reason that I, with the help of my illustrious gentleman here, started to make a new game. Not only was it because they wanted to play a sci-fi version of D&D, which I thought I'll just make a new system, but also because we don't like to be chained in by rules. And sometimes, as you are probably aware, if you've played any amount of D&D or anything like that, there are rules lawyers out there who will go, actually, I think you'll find that it's this. We don't want any of that at the table. Breaks the flow. Not cool. We want games to flow naturally and fun. You know, this is why we are here. We are here to have fun at the table.
Exactly.
It's one of the
here
main.
to read a big old book, are we? We're not here to read a big old book.
It's one of the main conflicts within D&D. I think the rule of
I
cool
think
versus
so.
rules as written.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And I personally think there's room for both.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think particularly in something where it's collaborative storytelling. I mean, the rules are a good framework, but you do need to jump outside of them on occasion.
Yeah, I believe it was Oscar Wilde that said, I bastardized the quote, but basically what Oscar Wilde said was that we need to have rules to contain creativity. There needs to be some framework in place to contain creativity, because this is what you're doing in a tabletop role-playing game. You're being creative with each other, and you're telling a collaborative story, both through the players and the DM. You work together to make an enjoyable and engaging story. We're going right back to caveman times, where we used to gather around the fire and tell stories.
They do need limitation stories. They do need them. Otherwise, it's just nonsense.
Otherwise, we're just all immortal beings. You know?
But again, ultimately, rule of cool versus rules of written. Matt, you obviously write books. If you're telling a story, any kind of story, collaborative or just a narrative, you have to ground what you're doing in your world. So if your world has rules into it, even if those rules are insane, if you start actively breaking them regularly, then what's the point? There's no limitation. You can do whatever you want. You know,
which means the stakes are affected.
And as someone who watches a lot of Japanese anime, that is the biggest complaint that comes in a lot of series of Japanese anime, is that every time a big bad rocks up, suddenly the main character finds another level of power continually. Like, you
might as well miss the next 4 episodes where they're charging up, because you know he's going to be done.
Yeah, basically.
I remember the first time I ever watched Dragon Ball Z was in Spain, so I didn't understand anything that was happening, but for 4 episodes, Goku ran towards this tower for 4 episodes.
I think
this is not about big bads. This is just my complaint about Japanese anime. I watched this. I didn't know what was going on. I'm sure he was saying some great shit, but he was just running towards this tower in the snow for 2 hours.
I mean, that's not the worst. There's other saying, but another topic.
Sure there is.
But it comes up a lot in anime and in other medium where, again, if you read the right book series, or the right or wrong, depending on your preference, book series, you get Mary Sue's and whatever the Gary Sue, or Gary Stu, I think the male version is.
Yeah.
That's it. Where just every time saying, "Oh, roadblock," I'm the main character.
I can just do this now.
Yeah, I can suddenly do this now. Like, cool, but that doesn't make sense anyway.
With no meaningful consequences as well.
Yeah, if you are going to, and to bring it back to RPGs, if you're going to use rule of call versus rules as written, ultimately the phrasing that we always defer back to is "you can try." Doesn't mean I'm going to let it happen. Ultimately, especially in things like D&D, where any actions you're going to try that will be a dice roll. I will say this, one flexibility that D&D has is someone's, I want to try and do this. The DM can just go, okay, give me a second, break down what you want to do for me, just so how I know if it's multiple checks, single check, whatever. I'm doing this. Right, okay, I'm going to need either one check with a high DC because it's one check, or it could go, okay, I'm going to need these 3 checks. This one is this one is this one is this, because you're doing multiple things in that action effectively.
Yeah, and this is what I've seen Matt do throughout our campaigns as well. What Matt will do is actually he will add our roles together. Now, I'm pretty sure that is not a rule in D&D where we have cumulative roles that add to things. This is something that Matt has made.
It's legitimately not.
Yeah.
I think it might be now. I think some of the newer material does have some supplementary.
Well, they stole shit from us, Carl, fuckers.
That's what I mean. It's a new addition. It's not something that's been done for a while. Matt's done cumulative roles for a while. Again, in Alchemy, in previous versions of Alchemy, when you're building that, we had the crisis sort of style thing, which was timed, and you had to beat a score, and that was everyone combining actions. And I'm sure other RPG systems have got something similar as well. But yeah, it's hey, you want to do these things? Yeah. Cool. Let's work out if you're going to do it or not.
Yeah, I've not done the cumulative roles in a while. I don't think. I think the reason I did them was sort of a logical. It felt logical to me to do it, particularly on stealth rolls.
A lot of the time it was stealth.
Yeah. It feels for 2 reasons, Matt. From a player and a DM, it feels as though you are giving us stakes still. You know, because I'm very good at things, and Carl is very good at things, but we are very good at different things. So I can't just steamroll us through a stealth check. I'm going to have to use this big green hulk of a man to try and just sneak through Raven. You know, it's a lot harder than me just puffing into smoke. Because if I were to roll now, I know what my stealth is a +12, and we have a 26. We're done. We're done. That's
the only way Gracchus can get close to that would be quitting. Anything else, Gracchus is not going to get close to that. So it's. I think that kind of technique is great for balancing characters a little bit.
That's number one. We have stakes, but we also have conserving time, which is a big issue, especially in D&D. And there will be other systems where it will be very rules heavy or very crunchy, and rolling again can be fun. You know, if you get to roll like 10 d6s, very fun to like count them up and see how much you've just absolutely blatted this enemy in front of you. But if you're in the role play section and you're trying to get to the fight where it's very exciting for you to go, right, you're going to do a roll, and then you're going to do a roll, then we're going to get to another door, and then we're going to do another 2 rolls, and then there's going to be another 3 rolls here. Like it was a way of conserving time to keep pace in the story. And these were the 2 things that I felt were very, very useful. You know, we would roll 2 things, you just write them down on a little piece of paper, and we'd do the next bit of the thing. And then we'd do it again. And really, that whole thing, which could have taken a lot longer, really, if we actually stuck to the rules, has been condensed to not ruin the beats in the story.
Well, that's part of the, I suppose that works as part of the show, I think in terms of practicality outside of that, my logic for it was, well, you've got different people who are good at different things. So let's say you're going to have someone naturally taking the lead on this kind of thing if you're a team.
Yep.
right? So this works effectively for. I mean, I think for stealth, it works the most effectively.
Yeah.
I mainly do it with stealth. I don't think I've done it with anything but stealth.
I think
Where you
that's the
have-
only time we've used it. Yeah.
Yeah, it generally is.
For something practical like that, where it's actually someone who is taking actions and doing certain things, if you're traversing somewhere and you're trying to do it stealthily, you're going to have someone who is taking the lead and taking certain steps, and the other people will
Step
be
there.
matching their steps.
Step there, don't step there.
Yeah,
Move like this.
Don't move yet. Don't move yet. Move
Yeah.
now. Move like this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that made sense to me. And also, it was a great time saver. And also, it takes away perhaps the most annoying thing in D&D for me, which is everyone make a stealth roll. Oh, someone is in heavy armor. Oh, with disadvantage, they crit fail.
This is what I was going to say.
I'm like,
Blame.
What I see, sometimes what can happen with this sort of stuff is if someone builds a character like Cassius, for example, who's built for very specific things, if he had to rely on me passing checks to make it work, Cassius' character is pointless. Because everything that Gracchus can do is something that only Gracchus needs to do.
Oh, Cassius would say, "Just stay home, Gracchus. I'll go.
Exactly.
I'll go and do
exactly.
it. You know,
You
I'll
have
go
to constantly split the party all the time.
yeah.
which
And with
is a
two
cardinal
players,
sin.
with two players,
It's a
that's
cardinal
an
sin.
issue.
Yeah.
Because not only in the story, it's going to make it harder, but well, for us, it's going to make it harder because if we get into any of the battles, it's going to be a lot harder. Like with that's hard enough, but it's also hard for the DM to create encounters where they split the party, especially if you're thinking, right, these two guys are going to go in, and if we didn't have this, I go, Gracchus, you stay at home. I'm going to go into the dark cave that has howling, like nether realm beings in there. I'm going to go in there on my own, and I'm going to get fucking mullered unless Matt goes, shit, I need to like at least half these encounters now.
Yeah.
Well, the thing also with splitting the party is just it adds a lot of time. And particularly, for practicality purposes as well, for in Streets of Mir, that's time we don't really have because we've got to make it sizable enough, and we've got to make it kind of concise
and we have to
to
work on this before, don't we? So we do, like when we do Streets of Mir, that there is a lot of conversation around what we do. There are still things that we don't know. There's like things that Carl doesn't know about my storyline. There's things that about Carl's storyline that I don't know. But in order to make this run nicely, we need to know a certain amount of stuff before we go into this. You know, we talk through the plans.
This is an issue with D&D in general, where if you split the party, and I think maybe it's because I get very mindful of how much time everyone's getting to actually contribute. Because we
talked about this before, haven't we? This is a reason players leave. If someone gets too much screen time. Me and Matt have been sat at a table before for 2 hours thinking.
Well, in the first game I ran online, they always, and I mean always, split up. And it was like, and this is when they were just doing like minutiae. They would always split up, and one of them just be like, would just steamroll everyone else, and then that would be it. And I would feel bad. This was also early in my time as a DM
career.
In my DM career, so I was like, I felt bad because I didn't think they were getting the time they should have, and they never complained or anything. But I'm like, well, this what? I don't know. This is really strange.
So bringing us back to the original point of rule of cool versus rules of written.
Yeah. Tangent.
Yeah, always happens. I think there's a sense that, again, generally most DMs are probably going to use rule of cool fairly frequently.
I would disagree.
Really?
I would disagree, yeah.
Okay.
You've got two camps, Carl. You've got people who will play it as it's meant to be played, or you will play it. It depends what you want. Like people will be like, no, this is how we're supposed to play this. We're going to play it within the parameters. We have been very fortunate coming together that we don't really care, and we just want to tell a good story.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I've had
because
generally most people I've played with have been rule of cool.
Equally, we have players here that will make characters who aren't good at everything. No one min-maxes here. Now, I do have a character that is very good with basically all skills. You know, like Cassius had, where is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's skilled in 8 of, it looks like half on my sheet. No one can see that.
No, that's just. Oh, there we are. It's
there we
come
are.
into focus. There we go.
So that is what Cassius looks like. So terrible at athletics, but most of the skills are very, very, very good.
Yeah.
So I've min-maxed him a bit.
He's effectively double level, isn't he? Because he's Warlock Rogue, isn't he?
And I've min-maxed him for roleplay specifically.
Right.
He's not anywhere as good as any of Carl's characters are when it comes to combat. I can still hold my own in there, and Matt has been very helpful in giving me like good shit to play with, like the Derringer and the pistol and things like that.
Right.
But
well,
really,
so that's homebrew stuff, and homebrew stuff
exactly
comes under.
This is another rule of cool.
Comes under rule of cool.
If you're going to use the books, you're not going to find your Castor's pistol at 1d10 plus 4.
Yeah, I would say realistically, any homebrew stuff that adds to a campaign is going to be rule of cool, because the only reason it exists is because someone there thinks it's interesting or fun.
And this is how we came up in our sort of life as RPGers, because when I did the first D&D campaign with you guys, I was like, pretty much do what you want. Just like check with me. I want to check if this homebrew stuff is cool, and it doesn't break it. But otherwise, we're good. A lot of the stuff was off like D&D5e.org or whatever it was. It's just basically a Wikipedia of homebrew stuff, and most of the things came from there.
Yeah,
was that 4e? When
it was 4e, yes, it was 4e. We played 4e. Yeah.
Was some like of the rule of cool stuff is it's not even rule of cool. It's rule of. They seem to have missed this. They seem to rule of quick, but also rule of. They seem to have missed this from the rules, and it makes no sense that they've missed it. So we're just going to add it. For example, cats do not have dark vision. Why don't cats have dark vision? I don't know. Like that makes no sense, because cats are nocturnal. They basically they see in the dark very well.
Yeah.
Which is actually bonkers, because like basically half the races in D&D have dark vision.
Realistically, in 5e, if you pick a race that doesn't have dark vision, that's a surprise.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Now they may all have dark vision. I don't know.
I don't think they do. No, because I'm pretty sure one of my guys didn't have dark vision.
It might be Calthar don't have it. Calthar might not have it.
One of my characters doesn't have dark vision. I know that for sure.
Travok might not either.
Travok definitely doesn't. But yeah, like some people do not have it.
Well, a great example of the rule of cool, a great example, is when you blew up airships when you blew up airships in Always a Bigger Fish with a lightning. Was it lightning bolt?
It was lightning bolt, and Carl just absolutely annihilated a whole ship.
Well, again, because I said, well, is the ship made of metal? Yes.
Yes, it
is. Then it's likely conductive metal because of the kind of world we're in. I doubt they're going to have hyper-resistant metals. They're going to be using steel. Cool. Then I'm going to shoot with a lightning bolt, because then I know it will conduct through the ship, logically speaking.
Right, and it'll hit ammo stores, and things are going to go up. Like it's a logical progression there. And part of the rule of cool, I think, is part of the DM's obligation to reward innovation and reward creative thinking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll give you another example. I had a player dive bomb a ship into a rock. It was a pirate ship. And dive bomb it into an island to an airship. Dive bomb it into an island in order to basically like end the fight. And I went, okay, you you can try. Let's hope you live. And he came out of it not unscathed, but he came out of it alive because he rolled well, and that's where you can try comes back into it.
Unless someone fundamentally breaks the logic of the world or breaks what would really be doable, I would say that give them a chance.
Yeah.
Because if whatever the outcome, good or bad, it leads to consequences, and those consequences are going to be interesting. Ultimately,
you touch on something. Yeah, you touch on something very important there, Carl, because we're talking about like what it may sound like here is like, yeah, anything goes. We're cool DMs, blah 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 blah. People will take advantage of that, ladies and gentlemen, bodies of water. They will take advantage of that. So you also have an obligation as a dungeon master to put these fuckers back in their place when they're trying to be naughty people. Okay? Because as soon as a loophole is made, unless it isn't that big, right? So I remember when we did our first ever campaign together back in the days when it was all black and white, that there was a real big combat imbalance in D&D 4E. So the Rangers were very, very good, Rogues were very, very good, Wizards were horseshit. And what were you, Carl? What were you as well?
I was a great weapon fighter.
Yeah.
You're a fighter. I was paladin.
These guys were front line, just fucking tanking. And they could hit, but it was really they were meat shields, right? Wizards were horseshit, especially at the lower levels. But the Rangers and the Rogues would just fucking kill. They would clean up. So these guys were getting bored. These guys were getting bored a couple of hours into it. So I don't want them to be bored. So one of the things that they worked out, they were like, can I do this? And the thing that they wanted to do was this. Right, the wizard is going to make a cloud of daggers, and the metal man is going to hit his hammer into it and throw it at these things. Yeah, that sounds dope. I like that. We're going to make a special roll out of that to work out how many of the daggers hit the thing. And then this became basically a new attack, really.
Yeah.
So it allowed those guys to come back in. I think we also charged you up.
We'd also have the wizard cast lightning on him to charge him.
We would charge Matt up, who was also a warforged. We would charge him up with electricity, and again that was a roll, and it might not work, it might not this, and things like that.
I'm pretty sure there were several times it backfired and just ended up doing straight damage to Matt.
Pretty sure it just fucking yeah. So in these circumstances, it's fine. Rule of cool is fine. Bang a hammer into a load of daggers and see how many hits. Fine. Charge your robot up with electricity. Fine. Right. And as soon as you give people an in, they're going to really use it. Okay. So we pretty much always need to charge Matt up with electricity. So I'm not always going to let it happen. Sometimes he's going to lose some of his health. Right. As humans, we like to find an advantage. And if we can find an advantage, we will ride that motherfucking advantage until we can have no more, right? So there is nothing to say that you as a DM always has to let things roll, okay? If it feels like this is getting a little bit too cheeky, then you can always bring more. You can change rules. You can change the rule of cool, because it needs to be cool for you too. You are still a player.
Well, you also don't want to get bogged down in negotiating over something in the middle of a battle.
Yeah.
And
this can always be done afterwards. Yeah, if you can always tweak afterwards. If it's been a couple of sessions and you're they're really riding this thing and it's making it a bit too easy. Again, the stakes have lowered. And we're kind of just going through we're just basically telling a story at the moment. We're just making shit up at the moment, which is fine. But it always needs to be stakes because it makes it exciting for everyone. You don't know what's going to happen in the story.
Here's another one. When it comes to Streets of Mir, in AC checks, I favour the player.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do that in another game that had 2 players.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped doing it when it went up to 4 players.
Right.
because now they have more. Because
there's more opportunity. Yeah.
Right, and it affected the balance so much that I had to go, okay, I'm just gonna need to scale this back to rebalance this. I need to rebalance a few encounters. I need to like nip a few things in the bud before they become problems. For future DM, Matt. Just like mechanical things mainly, but that's one thing that I homebrewed because I was like, or a rule of cooled or whatever, because I was like, okay, there's 2 of these people here, and they could be put in a situation where they're in trouble, and it's like, okay, and that's also why you're Gestalt characters, which is a thing that is something that I heard from somewhere. Yeah, I can't remember who. May have been Seth.
And we kind of ran with it.
Yeah. I mean, and I tried it with other games as well.
Yeah.
And it works really well for 2 players. And that's it. It doesn't work for nothing else.
Any more than 2, there's power creep at that point. You can create an overpowered party very effectively with that.
Yeah, I mean, just as long as you're aware of it. As long as you're aware of it, then I mean, it can work for 4. I mean, I think it's just about working.
I would say 2 is two is the ideal for doing that kind of stuff, just because it's easier to balance 4. When you start upping the number of players, you've kind of got to do a lot of working encounters. One thing that I do, and I've spoken to these guys off camera about this before in some things, is especially in fantasy stuff where there's like gods and devils and stuff like this, I effectively add in also like another mechanic that I've started calling a devil's bargain or a god's bargain, something like that.
Love it as an idea.
If a player really wants to break something, so they want to do something so stupid that you would always fail that roll, they can offer beneficial.
And beneficial.
And beneficial. Because I have personal things about some of the magic in D&D. I think revivifying some of the spells later on kind of lower the stakes for death, because it's been like, I'll just keep this, I can bring someone back. So I always make it harder to do that kind of stuff. So I always like the idea of, if you want to do something that's that powerful, cool, what's the trade? And and especially if it comes to, I want to do this cool thing that will give me a massive advantage. Okay, there's going to be a trade, and you are not going to know the full terms. You're effectively making a devil with deal with devil. You are going, I want to do this thing. Okay, I will accept that. I will let you do that, but I get to inflict consequences on you later on.
We've done hours and hours and hours of conversation over the devil's bargain,
and you cannot bargain your way out of that. Yeah. Whatever the consequences are, you have to take them. They will never be, I'm going
all sales are final.
Your character. No buyer's remorse, nothing like that. But the trick to that is always making it balanced. So if someone wants to do something stupid, do a ridiculously powerful, like I want to supercharge this spell or whatever and do that, cool. So you can do a spike in damage. Okay. How about in 3 to 5 game days, you'll suddenly feel exhausted and you're constantly at half health because you've traded part of yourself to make that work. It's never permanent, unless it's a very powerful bargain, at which point it will debilitate you.
When we were talking about Devil's Bargain, I was like, you need to take 10% of their life away forever.
Oh yeah, we started talking about this as well. Like,
that's what I was a harsh bitch on this. I was like, every time they want to do a Devil's Bargain, you take 10% of their health. Yeah. And then Carl was like, oh, but like then it's only 10. I was like, no, then it comes to 9 and this and this and this.
Yeah.
To stem off this kind of behavior, because it is an unwelcome behavior. Really, from players.
Yeah, it should be.
You want to.
It should be reinstated. This is when they want to break something.
Yes, it's not just a rule of cool. This is
going to affect the
breaking something.
That's going to affect the consequences in a big way.
Yeah.
So then you just start hacking away at their health.
Yeah,
and you're always given a choice. Okay, if you want to do it, this is what we're going to do. This is the rule that I'm giving, because you are running this game. You're a player as well, and you need to have fun in this game. I don't know how many times I say that in the Alchemist Toolbox, but you as a DM needs to have fun with this. So I was like, take 10% of their health. Yeah. You know, if they're at 90, then 9 comes away. Then we're at 91. It's still going to be 9. Then 8, 7, 7, 6, 6, 6.
the way I would phrase it is ultimately, you do not want to use this to encourage people to try and break your game. You want to use it as, I want to break the game.
Again, we're adding stakes, aren't we?
Yeah,
we're adding
exactly.
stakes. This is what D&D is. This is a story with stakes. This is what any RPG is. That you are telling a collaborative story that has stakes. So you don't know what's happening next. You know your part of the story, and you know what you want to add to the story, but there needs to be a certain amount of chance in it. That's why people use dice. You know, there needs to be a random number generator somehow, and this is why in Alchemy we use cards and things like that. There always needs to be a way where we don't know what quite is going to happen in the next.
That's why the sentence. That's why the sentence "you can try" is effective. The only problem with that is it's easy for always. It's surprising the number of times. Well, it's not surprising. The number of times where you say "you can try," and the other player, the player ends up rolling a nat 20.
Yeah.
Or rolling a nat 20. And it can be.
And this is the thing with online games. This is something that does happen. You'll potentially see that on online games. If people want to do the "you can try" thing, make them roll on camera.
Make them roll. If you're on roll 20, make them roll in the roll 20.
Yeah, make it actually do it in the chat.
There's also things in Discord where you can do it as well. There's like certain things. I remember I was playing a game on Discord, and you just have to type in a certain thing,
it's like
and it would
slash
show everyone
D6 and the number and stuff like this, so everyone can see it.
And
this is one of the This is one of the good things about Roll20. Is that, and like all the online stuff, really. You can,
pretty much all online stuff has an
inbuilt. See that roll. Everyone can see it, and it genuinely makes the crits way sweeter. That like
everyone sees it at the same time you do.
The crits are still sweet if you're rolling them on a dice, but for the DM, it makes them sweeter to know that they 100% got that crit. And it's like, right, excellent. What do you do? And that reward comes back to them. Like, it's either I would lusciously describe a crit, or they would. I mean, if it's an attack or something like that.
How did you do it?
All right, that's a colossal strike. What kind of strike is it?
Yeah.
How are you hitting them? Where are you hitting them? I mean, let's be honest, the whole joke we have of "and Crackers cut somebody in half" came about because that's how when I killed someone. I'm just going to swing for the fences and slice them in two.
I think it came from the first crit. I think that was the beginning of the game.
And it became a running gag that if I ever killed, if Crackers was the person to kill someone, then it would be, he's just going to do that. Or just like that.
Yeah, but, to the extent where you had like a bisected ghost coming after you.
Yeah, yep.
Right?
Minerva. Not Minerva, sorry. But yeah, if you want to discourage the behaviour of stepping outside of the law, the game world, not necessarily the game system, but the world you've built's rules, and you want to go, I want to do this thing. What's the thing you want to do? And like, I want to do this, and you're like, well, that's not actually possible to do that. But but I really want to try. Okay. Like they said, make it punishing. You can do that, but here's the trade-off: you're making a deal with the devil at this point. You're giving up stuff. You're making yourself weaker to do it.
Here's what I will say as well. To add to this, particularly if you're playing online. Actually, no. Either way, if you're playing online or IRL, either make everyone leave the table, or if you're on Discord or something, say, leave the call real quick. I'm going to call you, and then RP that bargain.
Yeah,
RP it. You are their god now, or their patron, or whatever. Particularly if you've got a warlock in the party. Like, patrons can just, like, absolutely
you have a lot of fun with patron stuff.
People. Yes. Oh, yeah.
Well, that happened to me, didn't it? We haven't had a lot of patron stuff recently, but I remember the last time he was like, you haven't been doing your fucking job, son.
You need to take that.
Yeah.
You need to take that piece of stone now. I think that sometimes, and this is in general, D&D had a lot of the patron stuff in there, but warlocks are always pretty much based on their patron. But when you think about it, they don't really do much. Like, you all get Eldritch Blast and stuff like that. Why not mess it up just because, I'm an ancient vampire patron or something like that? So how are we going to flavour it? But that's another conversation for another time. Like many of these things. But yeah, like, don't just say, okay, here's the deal. Play the devil. Be that dark, malevolent force in the world. Going, oh, you want to do this then, do you? Okay. So, tell me what you want to happen. Get them to tell you the outcome they want. Like, if they're going to go down this route, get them to just tell you what do you actually want to happen, not what you want to roll for. What do you want to happen? Dangle that little carrot of, yeah, you want to do this? Okay. What
You
do
can
you actually
have
want to
whatever
happen?
you want.
You can have whatever you want, and then they go, I want to do X, Y, Z. Okay. So here's how this works. I will let you do that. No rolling. It will happen. But you have to give something up for that. I want you to give me X amount of HP permanently. So you just lose HP. Or I want you to lower your mods. I want you to lower a stat block permanently. Like, you cannot reboost it.
Yeah.
You know?
You want really what we're doing here is expanding on like the djinn rules, isn't it? Because I'm pretty sure there's djinns in D&D.
Yeah. Djinns are in D&D.
Yeah, and then like I think basically really what they are is a wish spell with consequences.
Yes.
Because it takes so long to get to the wish spell. This is like a level 9 spell, isn't it?
It's level 9 wish.
Pretty much do whatever you want.
Well, effectively, it lets you break the game as a spell.
Which really, you should really be able to sort of come away from the rules at that point.
Yeah, because
the only reason to level up in an RPG game is to streamline the game. This is why leveling up is a thing in role-playing games. It's to make these things quicker. Make the things quicker that you've already done again and again and again and again, so you can get through to the more exciting challenges in the game. And by that point, when you're at level, what is it? So you'd probably be at like 18, 20 or something.
You'd be near enough 20 for level 9
It's something silly at that point. You don't want to be fucking around going,
yeah.
Okay, right. You can do that, but I think there's a big cooldown on wish. I think there's a really big cooldown on wish as well. And
it's not like a spell slot thing. It's like once you've used it, you can't use it for a number of days in game.
It's a long time. And I think even then there are consequences in there. So they've tried to do this as much as they can. But if the creators of D&D or the creators of any kind of game were to think about everything that was going to happen in this game, then we would never see another RPG again, and we'd all have to make our own. And please, ladies and gentlemen, bodies of water, don't do it. It takes a long
decade of his
time.
life. It's more than a decade of his life at this point.
A long time to do it. So really, I think what we're really actually talking about, Rule of Cool, really sort of goes into homebrew stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and if you look out there for D&D 5e homebrew, there's a lot of good stuff, and there's a lot of really awful stuff.
Yes.
Like, again, we come into the two camps of people who want to just beat the game, they want to win, and there's people who want to collaborate and have a good. You know, you can see that from a mile off when you look at any kind of magical item or race or anything like that. You'll be like, oh, okay, this person just wants to win.
Also, don't underestimate Wizards of the Coast's desire to break their own game.
Yeah.
Which they really want to do.
Repeatedly do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look at old school Mystic.
Right.
Like, if you've not looked into it, ladies and gentlemen, boys of water, I highly recommend looking at Mystics before they were redone, before they became like a subclass of each other thing, because an old school Mystic broke the fucking game. You want to be the best rogue? Yeah, you became a soul knife Mystic. You want to be the best wizard? You became an elemental fucking Mystic. Mystics just broke everything, stupidly, just because it was magic but with side points. But then,
right,
like, for example, I remember there was one spell that Mystics had, which was basically become the Avatar state from Avatar. And when I say that, I don't mean you got to pick one. It was the spell had each element: fire, wind, water, and earth. And it was spend side point to do this. I'm like, that's effectively 6 or 7 spells on a single list.
Right.
Woof.
It was broken as fuck. Yeah.
Right.
Like I think in terms of the Mystic stuff was never really play tested. It was always just like unearthed arcana in 5e.
Oh, don't get me started on Earth Arcana.
Oh,
don't get me started. If you wanna hear, so this is being recorded before the episode, the interview with Minaya goes up, where there is a big rant about D&D in there, about how it's breaking itself. Check that out. That was a really fun conversation. He would be fucking great in. He would love Alchemy. Minaya, if you're watching, you would bloody love Alchemy.
Oh, God.
More people, Lee. More people.
We need to do it. Like we need to have the the casual complete Alchemy League. You know?
I feel like what I'm doing with these interviews is building up basically a dream team of people who can
make it. I can just go. Here's 95% of it. Finish the last 5%.
Well, like people who would love it and who would be great on like when we end up filming some Alchemy.
When we do the filming episode, right? Okay, better get my fucking.
No pressure, Lee. No pressure, but
no
these
pressure.
These people would love Alchemy, Lee. They would love it. Don't disappoint the lovely people.
You don't want to break the little heart, Lee.
And on that bloody bombshell, should we finish those bodies of water? Because I've got to go do some fucking work on Alchemy. So, in short, rules are there to encourage creativity, but it shouldn't block it. I think, because this is a collaborative storytelling game, you know, and everyone's creativity and ingenuity and innovation should be rewarded, because what we're all trying to do is solve a collective puzzle. Basically, someone brings a puzzle and we all work together to work this out and all have a bloody good laugh about it at the end, you know. Now, some people, as in everything, like to cheat in games, you know, if they can find a little bit of a loophole, because no plan survives first contact with the enemy, right? And at the table, everyone is your enemy, especially if you're a DM. It shouldn't be that way, but it is. And people will find loopholes and go, right, I'm going to attach myself to this because I know I can get one up on everyone else. There is nothing to say that you as a DM can't go, okay, yeah, you can try, but you are in charge. You are the world.
You are the children.
You are the world. You are the children. And, we are there to create a positive experience for everyone. And if things are getting in the way, be that rules, be that loopholes, let's work that out so we can all have a good time with it.
There's always a solution to be found. It's just finding the path to that solution.
It's yet another problem to be solved at the table in a creative and exciting way. Tabletop RPGs are supposed to be fun, they're supposed to be engaging. We don't need, unless you're all rules lawyers, and then you can have a bloody good time together. I'm sure you are, because then that's another problem to solve. You know, who knows more of the rules? But if you're more like us, where it's a bit more free and easy, then it becomes more of a, you know, how do we make this more fun? Because that's all we're trying to do. We sit here for an hour or two each week and try and have as much fun as possible in.
I'm just imagining that rules lawyer table now. Well, actually,
Actually, I think you will actually find that there was an addendum made to that rule, sir.
Actually, I think you'll find that addendum has been errated out of the rule book. I think you'll find.
Actually, I think you'll find it was re-errated, and
I think you'll find in the newest edition they've completely removed it again because it was broken, and so on and so forth.
And there we are, look, rules lawyers. We're not in your team, unfortunately. We still love you. If you guys have any, comments or anything like that for us, don't give us hate. And if we do, I'll just be a real bitch on it, and I'll fight on it. I'll fight on the internet, no problem.
Well, the rules are there for a reason, certainly. Yeah. And they do provide a really effective framework, but you can get loopholes in them. They've not thought of everything. Cat should have dark vision.
And they can't. They can't think of everything.
No, it's impossible to.
And at the end of the day, and this is a point that was made in the Manaya thing as well, really it is up to you how you build your world. This is the thing about D&D, is that it is it is basically a toolbox within which you can create stuff and entertain and bond and tell a story and experience a story together. And there is nothing saying you can't add some tools in. Add a couple of tools in if you want to, or but you need to be
conscious of what you're adding.
You need to be conscious of what you're adding, and you need to. I mean, if you're too rules heavy, it could get stale potentially, and if you're too chaotic, then you could
rules light. Then nothing will get done.
Then nothing gets done.
Yeah. And
there's no stakes anymore.
And there we are, ladies and gentlemen, bodies of water. That is the rule of cool. That is home brewing. I think we could probably do some. I reckon we should do some home brewing reaction videos. We'll get the screen share on. We'll go through one of those things where there's good shit and there's bad shit, and we'll tell you why it's good and bad.
Ooh.
I think put it on the list, Matt. Put it on the list. But until next time, ladies, gentlemen, bodies of water, enjoy yourselves. This is what we're here to do. We are currently in the midst. If you're watching this as it comes out, but this could be 10 years in the future, at which point we've already finished Streets of Mir. But if you're quite hot on the take and ready to watch, then we are in the midst of the penultimate episode of Streets of Mir. Very exciting war episode. But until next time, enjoy yourselves. Everyone is supposed to be having fun, and if you're not having fun, watch more of these videos and we'll tell you how to have more fun. But until then, enjoy yourselves. See you later.
See you later.